भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ॐ ज्ञानातिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णकृष्णाय प्रभुपादत्रेय श्री गिरिराजाय स्वामिने सुभक्तादारास बिहारिणे भक्तिवेश्चात्मदाय नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णकृष्णाय श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे। मुखं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणं। Hare Krishna. So we are just revising again this chapter. So this is Maharaj Rahugan meets Jadbharat. Shukdev Goswami continued text 1. My dear king, after this King Rahugan, ruler of the states known as Sindhu and Sauvira, was going to Kapila Ashram. When the king's chief palanquin carriers reached the banks of the river Ikshumati, they needed another carrier. Therefore, they began searching for someone, and by chance they came upon Jadbharat. We've done this, right? Yeah, all this we have done, right? The story, the story of what happened. See the story. So all this was done. Yeah, so it's more like the philosophy, so that we remember what what was the reproach and what was the answer. Okay. Yeah, till 14. Okay. Okay, let's look at the philosophy side. Let's read this. So Jadbharat started to speak after he was chastised by the king. The great Brahmana Jadbharat said, "My dear king and hero, whatever you have spoken sarcastically is certainly true. Actually, these are not simply words of chastisement, but the body is the carrier. The load carried by the body doesn't belong to me, for I am the spirit soul. There is no contradiction in your statements because I am different from the body. I am not the carrier of the palanquin. The body is the carrier. Certainly, as you have hinted, I have not labored carrying the palanquin, for I am detached from the body. You have said that I am not stout and strong, and these words are befitting a person who doesn't know the distinction between the body and the soul. The body may be fat or thin, but no learned man would say such things of the spirit soul. As far as the spirit soul is concerned, I am neither fat nor skinny. Therefore, you are correct when you say that I am not very stout. Also, if the object of this journey and the path leading there were mine, there would be many troubles for me. But because they relate not to me, but to my body, there is no trouble at all." So this idea of carrying a load, so people actually become bent, isn't it? Because their mind is so much in disturbance. They become bent like this. Sometimes children are also born like their head are always down, because they are in their subconsciousness. They have already experienced so many, and they are in the process of analyzing. So these people are good candidates actually to learn this, to preach this, right? That why are we carrying a load? Like we say, sometimes we have shoulder pains, right? Because you believe it's yours. This is what's being taught and spoken here. Fatness, thinness, bodily and mental distress, thirst, hunger, fear, disagreement, desires for material happiness, old age, sleep, attachment for material possessions, anger, lamentation, illusion and identification of the body with the self are all transformations of the material covering of the spirit soul. A person absorbed in the material bodily conception is affected by these things, but I am free from all bodily conceptions. Consequently, I am neither fat nor skinny nor anything else you have mentioned. My dear king, you have unnecessarily accused me of being dead though alive. In this regard, I can only say that this is the case everywhere, because everything material has its beginning and end. As far as you're thinking that you are the king and master and are thus trying to order me, it is also incorrect, because these positions are temporary. Today you are king and I am servant, but tomorrow the position may be changed, and you may be my servant and I am your master. These are temporary circumstances created by providence. Destiny, right? Providence, we say Deva. What's the word used here? Ishwaras. 1 minute. Ishitavyam. Anyway. No, I'm looking at the wrong verse. Jivam mrittatvam niyamena, the laws of nature. Rajan adi antavat yat vikrittasya drishtam swamya bhavakaha dhruva idya yatra. So it's the word niyamena. Niya meaning the laws of nature and providence. My dear king, if you still think that you are the king and I am your servant, you should order me and I should follow your order. I can then say that this differentiation is temporary and it expands only from usage or convention. I do not see any other cause. In that case, who is the master and who is the servant? Everyone is being forced by the laws of material nature. Therefore, no one is master and no one is servant. Nonetheless, if you think that you are the master and I am the servant, I shall accept this. Please order me. What can I do for you? My dear king, you have said, you rascal, you dull, crazy fellow. I'm going to chastise you and then you will come to your senses. In this regard, let me say that although I live like a dull, deaf and dumb man, I'm actually a self-realized person. What will you gain by punishing me? If your calculation is true and I am a madman, then your punishment will be like beating a dead horse. There will be no effect. When a madman is punished, he is not cured of his madness. So, although I live like a dull, deaf and dumb man, I'm actually self-realized person. So, like in one household, we don't know who's who, right? Somebody seemed to be mad, right? But actually we don't know what's inside. People they may seem to have some type of defect sometimes, right? They seem to have some type of some element is taken out from them, but they're having so many deep realizations. Not everybody. Some people are just handicapped, disabled, or whatever you call them. But others, they are of a much higher consciousness, and it requires knowledge to be able to recognize somebody like this. This is a good lesson, right? So he's saying, you think I'm dumb and deaf, and what else? Dull. I'm dull, deaf, and dumb, but actually I'm a self-realized person, right? Of course, we don't think every dumb and deaf person is self-realized. That's why you need intelligence. You need Shastra. Text 14. Shukadeva Goswami said, O Maharaj Parikshit, when King Rahugan chastised the exalted devotee Jad Bharat with harsh words, that peaceful, saintly person tolerated it all and replied properly. Nescience is due to the bodily conception, and Jad Bharat was not affected by this false conception. Out of his natural humility, he never considered himself a great devotee, and he agreed to suffer the results of his past karma. All right? How hard it is. out of his natural humility. Meaning that if we are not naturally humble, then it's very difficult to accept our karma. Things go wrong in our life, right? And to accept it requires humility. He never considered himself a great devotee, and he agreed to suffer the results of his past karma. Like an ordinary man, he thought that by carrying the palanquin, he was destroying the reactions of his past misdeeds. Thinking in this way, he began to carry the palanquin as before. Oh yeah, we have discussed this. Shukdev Goswami continued, O best of the Pandu dynasty, Maharaj Parikshit, the king of the Sindhu and Saurvirya states, Maharaj Raghunan, had great faith in discussion of the absolute truth. Being thus qualified, he heard from Jad Bharat that philosophical presentation which is approved by all scriptures on the mystic yoga process and which slackens the knot in the heart. That philosophical presentation which is approved by all scriptures on the mystic yoga process and which slacken the knot in the heart. His material conception of himself as a king was thus destroyed. So at different times in our lives, the laws of nature, as we were reading, they give us that opportunity to let go of our false ego. And it's happening to the king in a rather violent way now. Can you imagine? He's going very aram se on his journey. Right? He's a king, he's got servants. Where are your servants? Just capture somebody on the road, make him become your servant, okay? While he's doing this, he didn't know who he encountered. So we are like this, we are going like very aram, say cruising, right? In life, going, and then suddenly something happens and we are jerked. So he like collapsed. His kingly pride collapsed. So that's why it says destroyed. It's not just words here. Hridaya Granthi, the knot of false conception within the heart. Mochanam. Mochanam means mukti, right? Dharma, arkam, moksha. Moksha doesn't mean only that, you die and you go somewhere. False ego died. You became free. Mochanam. Yeah, so Dvija Vachaha, the words of the Brahmana Jad Bharat, Ashrutya, hearing, Bahu Yoga Grantha Sammatam, approved by all yogic processes and the scripture. What did he do? His material conception of himself as a king was thus destroyed. He immediately descended from his palanquin and fell flat on the ground with his head at the lotus feet of Jad Bharat in such a way that he might be excused for his insulting words against the great Brahmana. He then prayed as follows. So what's happening here is that, Surya, right? Saurvirya, let's say somewhere. He's the king of, Sindhu and Saurvirya. Right? So he's a king, he's like the sun, right? That's what we say. King means sun. He's insulting a Brahmana. Right? So he's like eclipsing a Brahmana without knowing who he is. But now, after a very short time, things changed. Again, the Brahmana became strong and the sun got eclipsed. So he fell down. This is what happens in our lives. But you have to tolerate. Say the Brahmana, he says he considered that this was just the result of his past karma. Even Prabhupada said, when he went preaching in the West, these young women, women, they were insulting him. Right? We think that everything and everybody is transcendental. Prabhupada is transcendental. Doesn't mean he wasn't hurt. Right? So one time he said, past life. In past life, this man is coming back to me and saying something, right? So this is great instructions for all of us. 16, this is where we stop. Kastvam nigujjascharashi dvijanam vibharshi sutram katamo vadhudattaha kasyasi kutratya ihapi kasmad shemaya naschedasi nota shuklaha. So we can read. Stuck.
Translation by Divine Geshe Prabhupada. King Rahugana said, O Brahmana, you appear to be moving in this world, very much covered and unknown to others. Who are you? Are you learned Brahmana and saintly person? I see that you are wearing a sacred thread. Are you one of those exalted liberated saints such as Dattatreya and other highly advanced learned scholars? May I ask whose disciple you are? Where do you live? Why have you come to this place? Is your mission in coming here to do good for us? Please let me know who are you. Purport. Maharaj Rahugana was very anxious to receive further enlightenment in Vedic knowledge because he could understand that Jad Bharat belonged to a Brahmana family, either by disciplic succession or by birth in a Brahmana dynasty. As stated in Vedas, Tad Vignarartham Sa Gurum Eva Bhikachet. Rahugana was accepted Jad Bharat as a guru, but a guru must prove his position not only by wearing a sacred thread but by advancing knowledge in spiritual life. It is also significant that Rahugana asked Jad Bharat which family he belonged to. There are two types of families, one according to dynasty and other according to disciplic succession. In either way, one can be enlightened. The word Shukla refers to a person in the modes of goodness. If one wants to receive spiritual knowledge, he must approach a bona fide Brahmana guru, either in the disciplic succession or in the family learned Brahmanas.
These are very, very intricate and little bit like mysterious understanding. Because we're always fighting, are you Brahmana by birth or are you Brahmana by Diksha? What are you, right? So, there's truth. Prabhupada is accepting both, right? So, because here King Rahugana is saying, O Brahmana, you appear to be moving in this world very much covered and unknown to others. Who are you? Are you a learned Brahmana and saintly person? Because Prabhupada says that you know somebody when opens his mouth, right? So now Jad Bharat has opened his lotus mouth. So who are you? Are you a learned Brahmana and saintly person? I say that you are wearing a sacred thread, and upon his sacred thread has become completely black. Remember? He's not doing things properly. Are you one of those exalted, liberated saints such as Dattatreya and other highly advanced learned scholars? May I ask whose disciple you are? Where do you live? Why you have come to this place? Is your mission in coming here to do good for others? Meaning, are you a preacher or you are a bhajanandi? Right? Please let me know who you are. So in this purport, Prabhupada is just bringing up this point that actually you can be Brahmana by birth, provided that you follow. You are born in a Brahmana family, you follow the principles and automatically you will be a Brahmana. And it's really strange, like even when we observe society today, despite everything being like upside down with Varnashram Dharma, but we can see that in the same family, we see business people taking birth in that family, right? They have the same type of mentality. somebody is a doctor, we find, so many doctors in that family, isn't it? So meaning the laws of nature choose, right? Where you will, what is fertile environment for you to grow in your own varna. So it's still going on naturally by the laws of nature, naturally, right? But when you go off your line, and the easiest one to go off from is Brahmana, because that's the toughest. Brahmana means you have to be rigid, you need to have discipline, routine, proper attitude. So therefore to come down from the Brahminical standard and therefore not be a true Brahmana is so easy, right? I don't know about Kshatriyas, there don't seem to be existing Kshatriyas these days, but people who are good administrators, they can do they can do good strategies, right? Or perverted, they're not Kshatriyas, perverted version of Kshatriyas, they know how to fight and kill people, right? So, see, this varnashram, this selection, this classification is natural and therefore it cannot die. Whatever we may do, whatever we may say, it cannot die, but it can go contaminated, and out of pride I can say, I'm a Brahmana when I'm not a Brahmana. Correct. Bell is ringing. 17. Naham vishanke suraraja vajran natyakshashulanayamasya dandat nagnyarka samanilavita paschach shanke bhrisham brahmakulavanat. Yes. Amrita, you can read.
Translation. My dear sir, I am not at all afraid of the thunderbolt of King Indra, nor am I afraid of the serpentine, piercing trident of Lord Shiva. I do not care about the punishment of Yamraj, the superintendent of death, nor am I afraid of fire, scorching sun, moon, wind, nor the weapons of Kuvera. Yet I am afraid of offending a Brahmana. I am very much afraid of this. Purport. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was instructing Rupa Goswami at the Dasmameda Gata in Prayag, he pointed out very clearly the seriousness of offending a Vaishnava. He compared the Vaishnava aparad to a Hattamata, a mad elephant. When a mad elephant enters a garden, it spoils all the fruits and flowers. Similarly, if one offends a Vaishnava, he spoils all his spiritual assets. Offending a Brahmana is very dangerous, and this was known to Maharaj Rahugana. He therefore frankly admitted his fault. There are many dangerous things: thunderbolts, fire, Yamraj's punishments, the punishment of Lord Shiva's trident, and so forth. But none is considered as serious as offending a Brahmana like Jat Bharat. Therefore, Maharaj Rahugana immediately descended from his palanquin and fell flat before the lotus feet of Brahmana Jat Bharat just to be excused.
Text 18. Tad bruvya sango jaravani guddha Vijnana viryo vicharasya paraha Vachamsi yoga gratitani sadho Nana kshamante manasapi bhetum. My dear sir, it appears that the influence of your great spiritual knowledge is hidden. Factually, you are bereft of all material association and fully absorbed in the thought of the Supreme. Consequently, you are unlimitedly advanced in spiritual knowledge. Please tell me why you are wandering around like a dullard. O great saintly person, you have spoken words approved by the yogic process. But it is not possible for us to understand what you have said. Therefore, kindly explain it. So you say, I don't understand what you are saying. You are speaking big words of philosophy. I don't understand what you are saying. Explain to us. Purport. Saintly people like Jar Bharat do not speak ordinary words. Whatever they say is approved by great yogis and those advanced in spiritual life. That is the difference between ordinary people and saintly people. The listener must also be advanced to understand the words of such exalted, spiritually advanced people as Jar Bharat. Bhagavad Gita was spoken to Arjun, not to others. Lord Krishna specially selected Arjun for instruction in spiritual knowledge because Arjun happened to be a great devotee and confidential friend. Similarly, great personalities also speak to the advanced, not to Shudras, Vaishyas, women or unintelligent men. Sometimes it is very risky to give great philosophical instructions to ordinary people, but Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for the benefit of the fallen souls of Kali Yuga, has given us a very nice instruction, the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. The general mass of people, although Shudra and less, can be purified by chanting this Hare Krishna mantra. Then they can understand the exalted philosophical statements of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Our Krishna consciousness movement has therefore adopted the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra for the general masses. When people gradually become purified, they are instructed in the lessons of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Materialistic people like Sri Shudra and Dvija Bandhu cannot understand words of spiritual advancement. Yet one can take to the shelter of a Vaishnava, for he knows the art of enlightening even Shudras in the highly elevated subject matter spoken in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And we all know this. We are not able to attract people to come and listen to Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, right? Very few people, they are interested or to have the patience to just sit and study Bhagavatam. Text 19. Aham cha yogeshwaram atma tattva vedam muninam paramam guram ve prashtum pravreta kimiharanam tat sakshadharim jnana kalavatirnam. I consider your good self the most exalted master of mystic power. You know the spiritual science perfectly well. You are the most exalted of all learned sages, and you have descended for the benefit of all human society. You have come to give spiritual knowledge, and you are a direct representative of Kapil Dev, the incarnation of God and the plenary portion of knowledge. I am therefore asking you, O spiritual master, what is the most secure shelter in this world? Kimiraba, you can read.
Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. As Krishna confirms in Bhagavad Gita, Yogi nam api sarvesham madgata antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yamam saumay yuktatmamata. Of all yogis, who abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. Bhagavad Gita 6.47. Jar Bharat was a perfect yogi. He was formerly the Emperor Bharat Maharaj, and he was now the most exalted personality among learned sages and the master of all mystic powers. Although Jar Bharat was an ordinary living entity, He had inherited all the knowledge given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kapil Deva. He could therefore be taken directly as a Supreme Personality of Godhead, as confirmed by Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his stanza to the spiritual master, Sakshat Dharitvena Samast Shastre. An exalted personality like Jad Bharat is as good as Supreme Personality of Godhead because he fully represents the Lord by giving knowledge to others. Jad Bharat is herein accepted as a direct representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead because he was imparting knowledge on behalf of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, Maharaj Rahugana concluded that it was appropriate to ask him about Atma Tattva, the spiritual science. Tad Vijnartham Sagurum Eva Bhigachat. This Vedic injunction is also confirmed herein. If anyone is at all interested in knowing the spiritual science, Brahm Jigyasa, he must approach a guru like Jad Bharat.
So, this is our method. Save bhavalloka nirikshanartham avyaktalingo vicharachapi svit yogeshwaranam gatimandha buddhi katham vichakshita grihanubandha.
Translation: It is not a fact that your good self is the direct representative of Kapila Deva, the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To examine people and see who is actually a human being and who is not, you have presented yourself to be a deaf and dumb person. Are you not moving this way upon the surface of the world? I am very attached to family life and worldly activities, and I am blind to spiritual knowledge. Nonetheless, I am now present before you and am seeking enlightenment from you. How can I advance in spiritual life? Purport: Although Maharaj Raghugana was playing the part of a king, he had been informed by Jad Bharat that he was not a king nor a Jad Bharat deaf and dumb. Such designations were simply covering of the spirit soul. Everyone must come to this knowledge, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 2.13, Dehino Swam Yatha Dehe. Everyone is encased within the body. Since the body is never identical with the soul, the bodily activities are simply illusory. In the association of such a sadhu as Jad Bharat, Maharaj Raghugana came to the awareness that his activities as a royal authority were simply illusionary phenomena. He therefore agreed to receive knowledge from Jad Bharat, and that was the beginning of his perfection. Tad Vijnanartham sa gurum eva bhegachate. A person like Maharaj Raghugana, who was very inquisitive to know the value of life and the spiritual science, must approach a personality like Jad Bharat. Tasmat gurum prapadyata jignasyu. Jignasyu Shreya Uttatam. Bhagavatam 11.3.21. One must approach a guru like Jad Bharat, a representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to inquire about the goal of human life.
That's 21. Drishta shrama karmata atmano vai bharatur gantu bhavatascha manye yatha shatoddanayanaadya bhavat samula ishto vyavahara margaha. You have said, I'm not fatigued from labor. Although the soul is different from the body, there is fatigue because of bodily labor. Alright? Right, that's the problem. It appears to be the fatigue of the soul. When you are carrying the palanquin, there is certainly labor for the soul. This is my conjecture. So he's saying you're speaking very big philosophical words, right? But in practical, it doesn't work this way. So tell me. You have also said that the external behavior exhibited between master and the soul is not factual, But although in the phenomenal world it is not factual, the products of the phenomenal world can actually affect things that is visible and experienced. As such, even though material activities are impermanent, they cannot be said to be untrue. Mayavad philosophy and Vaishnava philosophy. So it comes again and again, right? Oh, here it is, Prabhupada is saying. This is a discussion on impersonal Mayavad philosophy and the practical philosophy of Vaishnava. By now we've started to understand, right, immediately. The Mayavad philosophy explained this phenomenal world to be false, but Vaishnava philosophers do not agree. They say that the phenomenal world is a temporary manifestation, but it is not false. A dream that we see at night is certainly false, but a horrible dream certainly affects the person seeing it. Right? We say, no, it's all imagination. I'm fine. No. He had a horror dream, right? He's suffering mentally. And maybe he'll be scared to fall asleep the next night. Right? It's a recurring dream. When dreaming, it is not possible to avoid the actual facts. And the conditioned soul is forced to suffer due to his dream. A water pot is made of earth and is temporary. Actually, there is no water pot. There is simply earth. However, as long as the water pot can contain water, we can use it in that way. It cannot be said to be absolutely false. Right? My water pot is useful, right? Though everybody knows it's just, it can break any time and will merge in earth. But while it exists, it is useful. Text 22. Sthalyagnitapahat payaso bhitapas tattapatastandula garbharandhi dehendriya vasaya sanikarshat tat samsriti purushasyanurodhat. King Rahugana continued, my dear sir, you have said that designations like bodily fatness and thinness are not characteristics of the soul. That is incorrect, because designations like pain and pleasure are certainly felt by the soul. You may put a pot of milk and rice within fire, and the milk and rice are automatically heated one after the other. Similarly, due to bodily pains and pleasures, the senses, mind and soul are affected. The soul cannot be completely detached from this conditioning. Are you not interested to know what Maharaj Bharat will reply? Are you interested? I'm dead interested to know how he will answer all these points. This argument put forward by Maharaj Raghugan is correct from the practical point of view, right? When we were doing our, Chaitanya Charitamrita discussion, that's what we were spending the whole hour on, this one point only. If a philosophy cannot be practical, what's the use? Meaning it's not applicable to our life, therefore throw it out. Nobody will accept. What will they do? They will only see what is real, what is immediate, meaning enjoy life. Right? It can be said that a person sitting in his car is certainly different from his car. Okay, fine, I'm sitting in my car. But if there is damage to the car, what will he do? The owner of the car, being overly attached to the car, feels pain. Right? Smash the car. Oh, my car. Right? It's not me, but oh, my car. Scratch the car. Oh, my car. Right? And you think that now to paint this, you have to paint the entire car. And hopefully you'll get the same color paint. The paint change doesn't look same, right? Actually, the damage done to the car has nothing to do with the car's proprietor. But because the proprietor has identified himself with the interest of the car, he feels pleasure and pain connected with it. This conditional state can be avoided if attachment is withdrawn from the car. Then the proprietor would not feel pleasure or pain if the car is damaged or whatever. Similarly, the soul has nothing to do with the body and the senses, but due to ignorance, he identifies himself with the body, and he feels pleasure and pain due to bodily pleasure and pain. You know, if your driver is driving the car, if the car gets scratched, does it matter to him? Doesn't matter to him, but sometimes it matters to him. Why? Because he identifies with the owner, not with the car. He identifies with the owner of the car. This is proper relationship. This is being a good servant, right? And he feels angry and wants to do everything because he wants to defend the interest of the owner. He feels the same pain as the owner, right? So this is proper relationship. But to feel I in my car, this is, you understand the difference? So one is Mayavad philosophy, so okay, just forget it. It's not nobody's car. It's okay. It's matter, earth, water, fire, air, ether, and paint. And metal that you smash, whatever. Hopefully your body didn't get smashed. You just consider it lucky, right? Oh my God, the page turned. So where are we? 366. Where are we? 366. Oh, okay. Okay, 23. Okay, 23. Shastabhigopta nripati prajanam yakinkaro vainapi nasti pishtam swadharmamaradhanamachutasya yad ihamano vijahatya ghogham. My dear sir, you have said that the relationship between the king and the subject, or between the master and the servant, are not eternal. But although such relationships are temporary, when a person takes the position of a king, his duty is to rule the citizens and punish those who are disobedient to the laws. By punishing them, he teaches the citizens to obey the laws of the state. Again, you have said that punishing a person who is deaf and dumb is like chewing the chewed or grinding the pulp. That is to say, there is no benefit in it. However, if one is engaged in his own occupational duty, as ordered by the Supreme Lord, his sinful activities are certainly diminished. Therefore, if one is engaged in his occupational duty by force, he benefits because he can vanquish all sinful activities in this way. What do you think the king is saying here? Well, according to me, he's saying that I'm punishing you because I'm the king. I'm doing my duty, right? I should correct the citizen, right? I'm a king. I'm supposed to do my duty. You're not doing your work properly. I'm the king. You're carrying me, right? So it's my duty to chastise you. Therefore, if one is engaged in his occupational duty by force, it's not that I became the king, and I have this work of engaging whoever's lying around and make them work for me, right? So it's like such a, like your razor's edge, right? Right? You don't know when it is for you, and you don't know when it is actually for Krishna. Such a borderline, right? You don't know when you can shift marginal. Jeev is marginal. So you're placed in such a position that you don't know when you're working for Krishna and when you're working for yourself. It's terrible. Yeah, I don't know how we'll ever get out from this world. This argument offered by Maharaj Raghugan is certainly very effective. In his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami says, Tasmad kenapi upayena mana Krishna niveshayet. Somehow or other, one should engage in Krishna consciousness. Actually, every living being is an eternal servant of Krishna. But due to forgetfulness, a living entity engages himself as an eternal servant of Maya. As long as one is engaged in Maya's service, he cannot be happy. Our Krishna consciousness movement aims at engaging people in Krishna's service. That will help them become freed from all material contamination and sinful activity. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 4.10. Vita Ragha Bhaya Krodha. By becoming detached from material activities, we will be freed from fear and anger. By austerity, one becomes purified and eligible to return home back to Godhead. The duty of the king is to rule his citizens in such a way that they become Krishna conscious. This would be very beneficial for everyone. Unfortunately, the king or president engages people in sense gratification instead of the Lord's service, and such activities are certainly not beneficial for anyone. King Rahugana tried to engage Jad Bharat in carrying the palanquin, which is a form of sense gratification for the king. However, if one is engaged as a palanquin carrier in the Lord's service, that is certainly beneficial. In this godless civilization, if a president engages people somehow or other in devotional service or the awakening of Krishna consciousness, he renders the very best service to the citizens. So we say this even when we are engaging the devotees or new people, they can't understand that we are engaging them for their benefit. Right? Even among the devotees, people think that I am trying to make them work for me. When I'm giving them service, they think I'm making them work for me. So many times. They don't understand what we are doing. Right? And unfortunately, they don't stay sufficiently long with us or close enough with us to learn how we are engaging them in devotional service for their benefit. We are in such a huge expanding movement, expanding at, such a pace, very fast, right? We are not able to make people value the small service that they are doing for Krishna. They only look at that person and they think that for you, I like you, I don't like you. Right? Text 24. At least in India, it's like this. Maybe in other places because it's more like small, so it's like more easy to make people understand and keep. But in a huge flowing, it's like a river of people coming, right? We had such experience, but anyway, we are still continuing to do and tolerating. 24. Tanme bhavandara deva bhimana vadena tucci krita sattamasya krishishta maitri drishamarta bandhu yatha tare sad avadhyanam ambha. Whatever you have spoken appears to me to be contradictory. O best friend of the distressed, I have committed a great offense by insulting you. I was puffed up with false prestige due to possessing the body of a king. For this I have certainly become an offender. Therefore I pray that you kindly glance at me with your causeless mercy. If you do so, I can be relieved from sinful activities brought about by insulting you. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said that by offending a Vaishnava, one finishes all his spiritual activities. Offending a Vaishnava is considered the mad elephant offense. A mad elephant can destroy an entire garden which has been developed with great labor. One may attain the topmost platform of devotional service, but somehow or other if he offends a Vaishnava, the whole structure collapses. Unconsciously, King Rahugana offended Jad Bharat, but due to his good sense, he asked to be excused. This is the process by which one can be relieved from a Vaishnava aparad. Krishna is always very simple and by nature merciful. When one commits an offense at the feet of a Vaishnava, one must immediately apologize to such a personality so that his spiritual advancement may not be hampered. And if the other person also has love for you, he will forgive the offense. He won't keep grudges, right? So this happened in a rather innocent way, you could say, between the two of them. Jad Bharat, like a child offends the parents, right? Or the grandparents, right? Very easily, right? The relationship is very loose between child, grandchild and grandparents, because grandparents are very lenient, right? Whereas parents are always with a stick, right? So when something like that happens, so the person who has good sense asks for forgiveness, and the person who is generous forgives. 25. Na vikriya vishwasurit sakhasya samyena vita bhimatestavapi mahat vimanat swakrita dhimadrin nangshatya durat apishulapanihi. Oh my dear Lord, you are the friend of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the friend of all living entities. You are therefore equal to everyone, and you are free from the bodily conception. Although I have committed an offense by insulting you, I know that there is no loss or gain for you due to my insult. You are fixed in your determination, but I have committed an offense. Because of this, even though I may be as strong as Lord Shiva, I shall be vanquished without delay due to my offense at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava. Purport: Maharaj Rahugana was very intelligent and conscious of the inauspicious effects arising from insulting a Vaishnava. He was therefore very anxious to be excused by Jad Bharat. Following in the footsteps of Maharaj Rahugan, everyone should be very cautious not to commit an offense at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur in Chaitanya Bhagavat Madhya 13 says, Shulapani samayadi bhakta ninda kare Bhagavat pramana tathapi sikra mare Hena Vaishnavera ninde sarvagyahai Sajanera dhapata sarva shastrikai. Even if one is as strong as Lord Shiva, who carries a trident in his hand, one will nevertheless fall down from his spiritual position if he tries to insult a Vaishnava. That is the verdict of all Vedic scripture. He also says in Chaitanya Bhagavat Madhya 22, Vaishnavera ninda karibeka yara gana tara raksha samartya nahi kar kona janam shulapani samayadi Vaishnavera ninde tathapi ha nashayai kahe shastra vrinde, ihana maniya shujana ninda kare, janme janme se papishtha deva doshe mare. One who blasphemes a Vaishnava cannot be protected by anyone. Even if a person is as strong as Lord Shiva, if he blasphemes a Vaishnava, he is sure to be destroyed. This is the verdict of all Shastras. If one doesn't care for the verdict of the Shastras and dares blaspheme a Vaishnava, he suffers life after life because of this. So there's some few things to learn from here. It's like it's a very good balance. So the king, anyway, when you occupy the position of king, you don't know when you slip, right? You do things for your own self. But because he was a pious king, religious king, Jad Bharat was inspired in the heart to speak, right? And he said, he gave his own, he just put forward the philosophy, said it all right? And King Rahugana was going where? He was going to, Kapila Ashram. He was going to Kapila Ashram to learn about Sankhya Yoga. And on the way he met a spiritual master who's teaching Sankhya Yoga. Alright? Yeah. Right. And by bad luck, ill luck, he insulted that guru. Right? So, after he's heard the king speaking, Jad Bharat speak in such a way, he was so shocked. He came down from his palanquin because he's a cultured and educated man. Alright? Otherwise he won't become king. Right? Not the way it is today. Only cultured, qualified people can sit on a throne. So he immediately came off his throne, the palanquin, and he begged for forgiveness. He glorified, he appreciated, he begged for forgiveness, but he did something that is very important. He didn't just say, okay, whatever you're saying, it's all correct. No. He says, I don't understand what you're saying. Right? This is the disciple. So, see, there is culture, there is following all the etiquette, etc. But at the same time, you can't just be a dumb and blind fool. Right? That you're so afraid, you say, yes, yes, Mataji, yes, yes, Prabhuji. Whereas in your heart, you don't understand, and tomorrow you turn your back and go away. Right? There can be no hypocritical behavior in inquiry about the absolute truth. It's not an artificial posture of, going touching the feet of the so-called seniors, right? Offering obeisances. Just for the sake, I can be forgiven, it's all over, right? You forgive me and it's all okay. No, it doesn't work like this. So this is a very, very good lesson. So he followed the culture, the etiquette, the appreciation, right? Asked for forgiveness, but he says, but I don't agree with what you are saying. I don't agree because the reality is different from your philosophy. Alright? So next week we are going to learn about the reply. Okay, suspense. Bhagavatam is very nicely designed. Is it okay? Alright. Thank you very much. Jagapati Kripa Sindhu Patitanam Pavani Hare Krishna.